Welcome back to the We've All Been There podcast. Man, we are so excited to be back. We took a little break over the summer,
That's right.
but we are back with you. I am Maximilian Stripple, and I get the opportunity to be the youth pastor here at Lifegate Church, and I'm joined with the one and only. They don't make him like this guy anymore.
Come on.
My pastor.
I was wondering where we were going this time. I was like, all right, am I gonna get the introduction this time or what? But I'm good, man. It's been a busy summer. We've been off on hiatus a little bit for the last couple of months, but we're back here and had a great summer. You guys got to go to camp. I got to go to camp. Went to camp and with my 9-year-old son, Easton. Kids camp. This man is getting too old for kids camp. I got to say that for sure.
Well, I'm super excited because we're starting off season 5.
Season
with
5.
Bang.
Let's go.
And we brought someone really special with us. Would you just mind introducing yourself today, Chris?
Yeah, no, it's awesome to be with. Thanks for letting me be on the podcast.
Yeah.
Name's Chris Sonksen, and I am the founder of South Hills Church in Southern California. We have 12 locations. I don't do a lot of the day-to-day anymore. I spend a lot of my time on Church Boom. We coach pastors and rescue churches. So churches that need to be coached, pastors that need to be coached. We've got coaching certification program, Church Boom University, executive coaching, and then America's closing 3 churches for every one that open. So we are working with churches that are smaller and putting them into groups and giving them free coaching, free retreats, all this stuff to try to turn the tide and help these churches that are struggling to come back, because we need to turn the tide of not closing more than we open. So that's my life. I live in Southern California, married, 2 kids, 3 grandkids.
New grandkid just came along, right?
Man, 6 weeks old, little Leo Thomas. he's got more hair than I do, and he's only 6 weeks old, and but he's awesome. Yeah. So there you go.
I love that. Super cool. So tell me, just for those that are listening who have just met you, tell me what experience kind of shaped your coaching style, or kind of how you got to where you are today with coaching.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great question. So the coaching for me kind of started unofficially probably 10, 12 years ago. Probably at least 12 years ago. And unofficially, because people were really reaching out to us a lot. For several years, we were one of the fastest growing churches in America. And so people reach out like, how do you do this? How do you do that? How do you do this? And so at some point, we just kind of had to organize it. And I was like, well, we can't take all these onesie-twosie calls. So we just started putting together, we started just with a monthly. And there'd be like 15, 20 pastors on there, and we'd teach, and I'd bring some other guys in, friends of mine. And it just kind of started taking off a little bit from there. And then I would say probably about 8 years ago is when we got a little more serious about it, kind of made it a little bit more of its own kind of coaching thing. And then Church Rescue came about a few years ago, and that's a really big mission. Style-wise, so in the coaching world, they say this, that consultants provide solutions and coaches provide questions. And so coaching is more like, you tell me a problem. I'm like, well, tell me a little bit about that problem. And what are some of the solutions you've come up with? What do you think the best way forward is for that solution? So I'm talking you into an answer that the coach believes you already have in your heart. Consulting is more, let's provide solutions. And let's get really, really practical. And so we just decided, that 80 to 90% of our coaching would be consulting. Because for me, I'm like, look, dude, I have 2 coaches myself. I've had 2 coaches for over 10 years of my life, almost 15 years. I believe that people always need to be coached all the time. And so I lead by example by having 2 coaches. But I ask them, I don't want if I have a problem with a certain part of the ministry, I want them asking me 19 questions.
You just want them to tell you, how do I fix it?
How do I fix this thing? And let me apply it. And we kind of been doing that for 6, 7, 8 years of just like, okay, look, here's how you follow up with first-time guests. Here's how you deal with how to raise up leaders. Here's how you build teams. Here's how you get a generosity calendar. And we've just gotten really practical. I think once in a while when the pastors got like a pretty big challenge going on personally, I feel like the coaching hat has to go on. But most of the time, the consulting hat is on. It's like, let's talk about where you're going, what you're doing, how we're going to get there, how we're going to grow the church. And I say professionals get coached, amateurs learn by trial and error. Yeah. And then I always say, which one do you want to be?
Yeah.
I've been getting coached for almost 15 years.
Yeah.
Everybody I know that is doing things that are significant, churches of 5,000, 10, 15, 20,000, They all have coaches. And I think you always have to have a coach. You don't wake up one day and go, yeah, I don't need a coach anymore. I'm good. Like that, I don't think you ever arrive to that. So anyway, our style is always like, where's the problem? Why do you feel stuck? Why are you not getting to that next level? Let's fix it.
Yeah, I like that you said coaches ask questions and consultants solve problems, right?
Give solutions.
Provide
solutions.
Yep.
Yeah, I've noticed that difference just as we've been working together.
Yeah.
I've had coaches and I've had consultants, but I have noticed as we work together, there is a portion of it that is coaching. Today when we were having some of our time, you said, well, what's your gut feeling on this?
Yep.
And what are you thinking on that? And that was coaching. You were helping me to put into words what was already inside of me, and you were drawing that out. But then I've also noticed that there's a bigger portion probably of our time together where you're saying, here's the strategy that we're gonna work. I'm gonna help you work that strategy, but I'm not asking you to develop the strategy. I'm telling you what the strategy is, and then I'm gonna help you to implement that strategy. So you're giving the solution there. So I see both of those in our time together. I've had coaching and consulting over the years, like I said, and I think it's a good mix with our with the way we're working together. That's working well.
That's pretty amazing that you recognize that too.
Yeah,
it's good that you recognize that from an earlier conversation. And the other thing I would say is style-wise is if you backed up you back up 7-8 years ago, I felt we were a little cookie cutter. There's many organizations that I could tell you exactly what they're going to do on day one. They're going to come in, they're going to do this, then they're going to do this, then they're going to do this. They're probably going to take you through a vision frame that's extremely popular: mission, vision, value, strategy, and structure. They're going to walk you through five of those things, and they're all important. Don't get me wrong; they're not important. But 7-8 years ago, I was just like, I don't want to be. One, I think we need to consult more and provide solutions more often, like Pastor Chad said that we do, and then sometimes it's the coaching hat. But I also just want to make sure that it's not a cookie cutter. Yeah. What's your situation?
It's customized. Yeah.
So we got to figure out where your issue is. So that's why we the very first call I have with someone, I'll spend an hour and a half just going, okay, what's happening? What's your guest flow like? What's the follow-up? What's the percentages? What's happening here financially? What's happening here? What's happening here? What do you think the problem is here, here, and here? And we just start going through it. Now we're going to identify the top 4 or 5 and attack those things. And then every time you attack those and get those right, you find 4 or 5 more things we got to work on because
there's
there's always something to work on, and I hope pastors want to keep growing. But I've just gotten away from the cookie cutter. It's more like, tell me exactly what's happening.
I've seen that too. I'm going to keep emphasizing what you're saying, because we've had consultants that came in and you could tell this is just what we do with every church. This is this is what's first, this is what's second, this is what's, and you do feel a little bit of that feeling of, well, you told the church down the road that same thing, but we're different than them. So
that's right.
You do have solutions, but you're customizing those solutions.
100%.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's really good. I know one of the questions I had, and you just kind of really spoke into it, but do you feel like there are common myths or like misconceptions about coaching that you wish people understood? And I think you kind of touched on the cookie cutter piece, but I know, like, if I'm speaking kind of for myself, from what I've seen in other churches and just in stories that I've heard, it's just kind of maybe this lack of connection. And I mean, you said that really well, of just like with, asking these questions and, this creates some, hey, you have these problems or you have these things we can work on. And so, I don't know, maybe speak into like some other myths or misconceptions that people may have about coaching.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you brought that up because there's a couple of them. First, I've rarely ever worked with a church, and we have a lot of coaches, where you don't find quickly who's resisting. There's usually one you can pick up, like, and not the entire time, but the first few months, it's that it's almost a guarantee. Staff's got 12 people in it. Let's say, I don't know, whatever it is, 10, 12, it doesn't matter. And you look and go, there's going to be one that's going to resist it. I already know how to do this. I don't tell anybody, or I don't need anybody telling me how to do it. So I don't know if that's a myth, but I think it needs to be more of an understanding that I tell lead pastors often, like, there's probably going to be someone that's not going to like it. And then we just kind of got to get warmed up to that. And then they warm up to it. Yeah. Almost every time they warm up to it. But there's a little bit of that resistance. And I would say that's more of an understanding. Myth-wise, now I'm an Assemblies of God guy, so we believe in the moving of the Holy Spirit and all that. We work with a ton of other denominations that, preach Jesus, preach the cross. We just have different views on the Spirit. But I would say to them, whether it's AG or non-anom or Baptist, here's the myth, and I'm going to use the word Spirit, is somehow they think if you're focused on strategy, you're not allowing the Spirit to move.
Oh, yeah.
And that is such an enormous myth and misunderstanding. I 100% believe that Spirit and strategy have to coexist. Yeah. They got to coexist. If you look throughout the Bible, God uses a leader. I mean, he can do whatever he wants. I mean, he just wave his hand and kind of do whatever he wants. Let's just get real. But it's like from Genesis to Revelation, he just finds a leader, finds a Joseph, finds a David, whoever, Nehemiah. He finds a leader. He's going to find a leader and work through the leader. So that's number one. And then number two is like march around the building 7 times. Why 7? It's just a strategy. Okay, line them up by rows and we're going to feed them. Strategy. Yeah. Okay, you guys are going to do all this work in Acts, and we're going to work on studying, strategy, prioritizing, mission critical. It's throughout the Bible. I think we miss that. And this is one of the downfalls of that is someone leans on the other side. I've noticed that when they really kind of go to that, I say spirit and strategy have to coexist. And when it's like lean on the spirit, which I'm 100% for that, but they kind of just get rid of the strategy. To me, this is me and probably being a little judgmental, but it's because I've had so many conversations with a lot of pastors where I'm like, I think they actually use it as a slight excuse, where it's like, I don't know if you really want to work.
Well, if the Spirit wants it to happen, it'll happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If the Spirit wants it to happen, it'll happen. And exactly, Chad. It's not, we're just, and it's almost like, man, if the Spirit moves, to God be the glory. If he doesn't, it ain't my fault. So it's almost kind of like hands off of everything. And it's like, I don't know if that's exactly the case. I think God would want us to keep trying and swinging and strategizing. 100% lean on the Spirit.
Yes.
But 100% use the brain and creativity that God gave you. We're made in his image. So use all of that. And don't fall into what like Chad said, hey, if the Spirit wants it, it's like, maybe he does. But I heard one pastor say one time, he says, I think in the Old Testament we wait on God. In the New Testament, God waits on us.
That's good.
When are you going to get busy?
Yeah.
And I think there's a myth there. And I'm like, it's good. Spirit's amazing. You got to have it. Without him, like, what are we going to do? But the strategy's got to be there too.
And I think the Spirit gives us strategies. Absolutely.
Yeah, if you're open to it.
But sometimes he gives someone like you a strategy, and then you give that strategy to me. And the Spirit still gave me a strategy. He just gave it through He gave it through people. And obviously, and I know we've had conversations about this. You say this kind of thing all the time is, listen, you're the pastor. I'm just the consultant and the coach. Here's what I think, but you've got to do what you feel like God is asking you to do and what God is telling you to do. So I'm going to give you some strategy. I'm going to give you some thoughts. But then you also have to run that through the filter of what is God saying to you. Because I'm just the coach, you're the pastor. Yeah. And so we have those kind of conversations as well, where the Spirit is giving you strategies and he has given them to you that have been proven and have worked. You share those with me, but then I still have to run it through the filter of what is God saying for us at our church, and does this strategy work for us here at this church? And all those things come together: the Spirit, the strategy, the people that are involved in that. Right. Always testing those things as we're leading our church.
Yeah, that's good.
It's important. It's really important stuff. Yeah,
that's really good. Do you think that each leader should have both, or do you feel like teams should kind of like help each other in their weaknesses with Spirit and strategy?
Teams or different churches?
Churches. Yeah.
Churches. Personally, I think they need both. Okay. If we're made in his image, then we're creative beings. Yeah. If we're made in his image, then we have the ability to dream big. If we're made in his image, then we're smart. And we can come up with solutions. The whole planet he created is a solution. The sun comes out at this time. The moon comes out at this time. There's only a certain amount of ocean water, because without that ocean water, this whole earth would burn up. But the ocean water sucks up some of the energy. Like, everything was a strategy. Oh, and by the way, let's have some food inside of the ocean for people to eat. Like, everything was a strategy. So I do think that if we're made in his image, then let's operate in that.
Yeah, no, I love to hear that, because I know for myself, it can be easy to go, well, I'm weak in this area, or I'm not good at this, so I'm just not going to try. Yeah. Or I'm not going to allow this to be something I can grow in.
Well, and that's why, Max, I think that you have to. I'm a big fan of. We've talked about it, Chad. One of my favorite books that I've been reading and probably giving it out to a couple, 200 or 300 pastors, is the book Who Not How. I love that book, and it's about if your dream is not that big, then just go do it. You know how to do it. Yeah. If your dream is really big, then you need the right who's on your team. Mm-hmm. People are like, I don't need anybody on my team. I'm like, well, that's because your dream's not that big. But I want a dream so big that I got to go find talent. Maybe they're on my team. Or maybe they're not on my team. Maybe they're just guys that I bring into a room and go, okay, how do you do that? How do you do that? What about this? What about that? I'm writing I think it's my 10th book. It'll come out in January of 2026. And it is called Making Vision. Well, I think the working title is, we'll see what the publishers say. But it's called Making Vision Happen. And it's all about the vision process from conception to completion. When I create a dream and start strategizing, creating the plans, I usually lean on people outside of my circle. Then my circle, my team. Then when I have a clarity of it, I bring it into my team. But that's part of the entire process. I'm not the best strategist in the world. I'm not the best dreamer in the world. I'm not the best fact checker in the world. I'm not the best all of that in the world. So sometimes it's people on my team. Sometimes it's people not on my team. That I gotta think, okay, this is what I want. I've never been there before. How do I get there? Yeah. But again, if your dream's not that big, then don't waste the time. But if your dream is big, the who will be the most important thing.
That's good.
That's good. Do you feel like you have a story over the years that you've been coaching, and obviously we don't have to name names, but of somebody?
I'd love to name some. No, I'm sorry. I've been waiting for this podcast.
We'll tag them.
That you've seen experience a big shift through coaching.
Teams that have experienced big shift?
I guess churches or clients.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
People. Yeah, tell us some of those stories.
Oh my goodness, yeah. There's been so many. Wow, I would say, I'm thinking of one church right now on the East Coast. We were working with them, and there were some changes that needed to be made. They were lacking, and they were probably running 600, maybe 500 a few years back, maybe 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago, something like that. There were just changes that needed to be made with some of the structure and strategy. There was a couple staff members that needed to find different seats, and there were some changes. And so there was some issues on the staffing. There was some issues in the structure and strategy. There were some issues here. The pastor was very open to the structure and strategy, was very resistant to making shifts on the team. He didn't want to upset anybody. I was like, dude, nothing's going to happen until you fix this, And so then he put this guy over here, made this guy move. Everybody got a little upset, and then they all calmed down. Today, that church runs 1,800.
Wow. So they tripled.
And they've got 2 locations. They went from being, cash reserves being real low to being real high. Their budget's really strong, but they were willing to make the change. I think of even, and that's a bigger one. I think of churches the church I was just in a few days ago, over the last, 18 months. Major changes. They did the thing was their staff. That's what I noticed. This church specifically, I gave it to the pastor, and their staff just went crazy. I was like, wow, the timing was right, because they were hungry. What I've noticed is if someone's not hungry, it doesn't matter what you feed them, they're not going to eat. Wow. And that staff was hungry. And so, I don't know, 14, 15 months ago, they couldn't break 250, and yesterday, I think they had 675. Wow. And they've just exploded. Yeah, and the team just went crazy with it. So when the team's hungry, when they're willing to make change, things can happen. But there's 2 things, Max, that I always say is that your ability as a leader to grow your ministry, to get to that level that you've always thought about, will come down to 2 things. Your tolerance of pain and your willingness to change. Those 2 things are crucial. Are you willing to change, or do you want to hold on to keep the peace? And how much pain can you tolerate? Because someone's not going to like you. Someone is not. But here's the thing, man. If pastors are constantly okay, if I make that change, someone's not going to like me. Someone's going to get upset. You cannot lead with authority and be addicted to approval.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
How do you get, let's say you go into a church and the pastor is the one being resistant. And maybe it is for that reason. Like, man, I'm just worried about what people are going to think or
Yep.
whatever.
Yep.
And they understand, they have an understanding that there's going to be pain and that I'm going to have to change. How do you get them to buy in to, okay, because I know I've had times when I knew that we needed to make change, but I wasn't confident that if I made the change that it was actually going to result in the growth that I was wanting it to result. So that caused me to not be sure if I was willing to endure the pain that the change was going to bring.
Yep.
How do you get them to buy in? And what would be your approach when it comes to a pastor? I'm saying it as a pastor because I'm a pastor, but maybe it's a staff member or something like that as well.
Well, there's a couple thoughts. One, I'm not a counselor, and I have felt at times that it was pretty deep. I was just, there's one incident of a person in California that we were coaching a few years back, and I just flat out told him, I said, look, man, you need counseling. You are so addicted to approval. You're not willing to make change. We're not going to make much progress here. I'm not a counselor. I don't ever claim to be one. I don't like doing counseling, nor do I even think I'm good at it. So
you're coaching consultant, but definitely not counselor.
No, yeah, the third C. I'm only 2 C's out of 3 C's. It sounds like my report card. But I just told the guy, look, man, you got to get counseling. And I told him attack it. So I said, get counseling, try to do it at least every week or every other week. Do a lot. I go, speed this thing up. And I start reading some books that you think are going to help you. I tried to help him find some books. And it wasn't quick, but 8-9 months later, man, some of his staff were like, man, he's changing. And it started to work. Now, I thought that was so deep. I was just like, look, man, I'm going to keep coaching your team. They need the encouragement and all that, but you need some you need help. So I think it's sometimes that. The other time I would be when I don't think it's that deep is I try to help them obtain early wins. Early wins give you confidence.
Okay. Yeah.
Early wins always give you confidence. And so if you can get an early win of like, okay, let's make this little change. And I can't make everything, let's make this one. And then there's a little bit of something positive happens.
Then they start going, this actually might be worth the pain.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to work.
Yep. And then you kind of move to the next one. So it's sort of like, okay, let's attack this little pebble before we move to the big boulder, or let's pebble, rock, boulder, something. Let's move our way up to that. So when it's not big, and I don't think it's like, oh my gosh, you need counseling, which that's true. And hey, man,
sometimes we all need counseling.
We all need it, and sometimes it's like, dude, that's a lot deeper than just an early win. But sometimes I think early wins help.
Yeah.
That's good.
Something I always do with our team is we do first downs.
Yeah.
Instead of celebrating the touchdowns, we celebrate the first downs.
Oh, I love it.
So something similar of like,
That's
hey,
great.
I had a conversation with a student, or the student invited a friend instead of just celebrating the, hey, they got saved. Right?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it's like if you're trying to lose some weight or something, you got a lot to lose, but if you can get 4 or 5 off in that first week, then you're like,
I have a friend of mine, he is a pretty well known, the very large nationwide weight loss thing, and he does podcast, does all this stuff. Anyway, one time I was talking to him, and he's done a TV show, and like he's whatever. But he told me one time, I said, "What's the secret?" And he goes, 3 to 4 pounds. He goes, if you can get someone to lose 3 or 4 pounds quickly, he goes, you can take them all the way to 50.
Yeah.
And he says, but if they don't lose it quickly, he said, they don't gain the confidence.
Yeah.
It can't be a month. It can't be 2 months. It's got to be like, it's happening.
Yeah.
That early win is so crucial.
That's good.
In
That's
that.
really good stuff, Chris. Yeah.
He's listening today and they maybe just like feel stuck in where they're at. Like maybe what's something practical that you think they could try today?
Lead pastor?
Yeah, lead pastor.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I would probably want to know where they're stuck at, but if their church feels stuck, there's a lot. There's a lot to look at, but one of the first things I would ask them, I'm not saying it's the only thing, but one of the first things I would ask them is I would ask, or do we have a visitor flow problem or do we have a retention problem? So if someone's hitting 4 to 5 first-time guests for every 100 adults that show up to church, they're not having a first-time guest problem because that's the ratio you should be hitting. If they're having 1 guest every other week for every 100 people they have, like, dude, you don't even have a visitor flow. Like, they're not going to grow. That's not rocket science. You're not going to grow if you don't get new people. But I've ran into churches where it's like, wow. I mean, they were hitting, like, church was 500. They were stuck. I remember a while back having a conversation. And they were hitting 20, 25 first-time guests a Sunday, and they couldn't grow. I said, you have a huge retention problem. So either A, they don't like your product.
Yeah.
That's
Sometimes
problem.
it just means they came to church and they didn't like the service.
They didn't like what they saw.
Yeah.
I get it if grandma's visiting from Tennessee, but that's if it's the product issue, like, man, dude, there's
You
a
gotta
major
fix that
product.
first, yeah.
Okay. Because a lot of people go to first-time follow-up, and I'm saying you need to have that. The bottom line is, man, if you go to a restaurant and you love the restaurant, you're going to go there again whether they send you a text or not.
That's true.
If you love it. So I agree with 100% with the follow-up, but the best follow-up program anybody can ever have is an amazing service. So we're just like, man, the experience from the minute they pull up and all that. So if there's a retention issue, I'm going to go to, okay, let's talk about your product. If that's not the issue, then let's talk about your procedure, meaning are you taking people and moving them into the life of the church quicker? The average person takes about 6 months to get involved in ministry or involved anywhere in the church. And if you can get someone involved once a month within a few months of they're there, at least they feel a little connected. Statistically, they're 500 times more likely to stay in the church. So if I was talking to someone quick and only had 5 minutes in an elevator or a few minutes in an elevator, that's exactly where I'd go.
That's good.
Very good. What's something surprising that you've learned about people just through all the years of coaching?
We don't have enough time for this one. Oh my goodness, man! I'll rattle off some thoughts. People that want change without change.
Yeah,
that's probably the big one. People want change,
but they don't want to change.
Yeah. People think they've arrived with coaching. I've had a coach for 15 years. You know, other people where it's like, oh, I've had it for a year or two. I'm like, dude, you need it for another 20. Like, that's just who we are. Yeah. They view it as, the problem is they view it as an expense, not an investment. It's an investment in making you better. That's better for the church. I would say that's been a little bit surprising. I would say in that category of willing to change, I would say the addiction to approval is really high among pastors. And sometimes I think it's laced up in, hey, that's a person that gives a lot, or that's a person that's related to 28 other people in the church. I get that. Sometimes I think it's just an approval thing.
Insecurity too.
Yeah, insecurity. Yep, 100%. And then they don't make the change. So we'll appease the two and ignore the crowd. And I've seen that with churches in the thousands. I think the biggest church we've ever coached, maybe 15, 16,000, but I've seen churches in multiple thousands. They're like, man, I'm really worried about this couple. I'm like, you have $10 million in reserves.
There's 3,000 other people.
You got 3,000 other people. Why are you worried about this person? You know, so those are some of the things that I think that kind of surprise me about leaders sometimes. And also, I would say maybe not so much on the lead pastor, but maybe more on the associates. They know what it. Well, maybe even the lead pastor. They know what it takes to grow personally. Then they want to grow personally, and they never do it. It reminds me of what Paul said: the things I want to do, I don't do. The things I don't want to do, I do. It feels like that a lot of leadership, where I'm like, you know what you need to do, right? Like, and then I tell associates all the time. Yeah, privately, I'll sit there with a youth pastor or children's pastor or whatever, and I'll be like, okay, you've grown to your max. Do you still want to be in ministry for the next 25 years? Yes. Do you want to get paid more? Yes. Do you want to be more successful financially? Yes. Let me tell you, this is the best it's going to get for you. Okay, and here's how I do it. I'm like, you've proven you can make 100 widgets a day. You'll see where I'm going with this. I go, you can do that. Your ministry is right here. You can make 100 widgets a day. What you haven't proven is that you can make it 1,000 a day. So why would anybody pay you more if you can only do 100 widgets a day? Grow as a leader, develop as a leader, raise up other leaders, raise up volunteers, dominate like crazy. And your pastor will recognize it, and so will a lot of other people. I can tell you that the medium to high level pastors, everybody's looking for leaders. They're not looking for maintainers. And so I tell people all the time, do you want more money? You want to be successful in ministry? Blow up where you're at. Bloom where you are planted. Blow it up, man, in such a way where it's just like, wow, man, like this guy, I had an incredible leader on our team one time. This guy went to 3 different departments in 3 years. He blew it up. We handed it to someone else. He blew that up in a great way, grow it, hand it. He came to me after the end of 3 years. And he goes, man, I think it's time for me to leave the team. I'm not even kidding. And he goes, I want to go do this, that, the other thing. He wanted to start a church, something. And it was all healthy and good. It wasn't negative, bad. But I was like, what would it take to get you to stay? And then he said, well, what do you mean? I go, what do you need? I literally, I've never done this, but I found myself maybe even inappropriately throwing dollars at him.
You had
I'm
a
like,
blank check for
hey,
him.
yeah, pretty much. I'm like, how about $20,000 more a year? I mean, I was like 30,000. I found myself so caught up in it where I was like, I'm ready to throw blank checks at this guy because of what he's able to do. Everybody gets capped out and goes, I want to make more. I'm like, why? Why would anybody pay? You're going to get a 3% cost of living raise for the rest of your life. That's what you're going to get. But you go crazy like this guy I'm talking about, everybody will want you.
Yeah,
I just telling people that's what they should do. I'm blown away they don't. I'm surprised when they know the pathway, but they don't take the pathway.
Yeah. Do you feel like that's like you wake up one day and you're like, I'm going to do this if you are those people? Or do you feel like it's like a gradual, like you got to like get to that spot where you are that type of person?
Oh, man. I think some guys and gals wake up to it. Some don't. But I think some do. Now, I will say that I think often that they hide under one of two things. They hide when it's like I'm not growing anymore, and let's say they're really good at worship or they're really good at whatever, but they're not really growing anymore. Yeah. They're not growing. The mission's not growing. What they're doing is phenomenal because they're great or really solid because they're naturally good. So they hide. Here's where two people hide, I think, or two different areas. They hide under their personality or they hide under their talent. And they hide under their personality this way. It's like maybe I would say to you, Max, dude, you're always late to things. You don't show up. You don't follow through. Oh man, you know me, dude. I mean, man, you know my family. I mean, you know the way we are. You know the way that my genealogy is. You know, us Italians, us Hispanics. You know, they'll drive to something to be like, you know the way we are, man. We're not on time, man. I'm like, well, I don't care what nationality you are. You need to be on time. But they will. They'll hide under their personality. Or they'll hide that personality just the way I am, or they'll hide under their talent. Like, oh, I can show up a little late. I can do whatever because look how good I am at worship. And then again, they hit lid, but they don't hit capacity. Lid is what we put on ourselves. They're putting a lid on themselves. Capacity is what God puts on us. And I always say, this is where you could go because you clearly have the ability. This is where you're always going to stay because you're making your personality an excuse, or you're making your talent the excuse.
I like that illustration you gave today about the balloon. You know,
Yeah.
You have the balloon that's a small balloon. You can blow it all the way up. It can only get to be a small balloon.
Right.
But then you can have a big balloon that can blow all the way up to be a big balloon, but it can also be the same size as that small
100%.
balloon.
Yep.
And it still has the capacity to get bigger, but it stays smaller. Yep. And there are a lot of people. That was a great illustration of the people that have the capacity to be that big balloon, but they stay that small balloon because they're not willing to stretch. That's what the balloon has to do is stretch.
It's got to stretch and
grow. To stretch in such a way that it can grow into its full capacity. Good stuff.
I love that. Well, I mean, I'm going to ask one last question. If you have anything, Pastor, before.
No, man, this has been great. Let's go for the last question.
I was just going to ask if there's anywhere people can connect with you or learn more about your work.
Yeah. So it's called Church Boom, churchboom.org, churchboom.org, just like it sounds. And there they'll find everything. We have a coaching certification program. We've got Church Boom University. It's ongoing learning. If you're a church under 100, you get free coaching for a year. You go on a free 4-day soul care retreat. You don't pay for any of it. All you got to do is go to churchboom.org and you'll see it says cohorts, churches under 100. You can go there. We've got a Church Boom network. Even if you belong to a denomination, doesn't mean you're tied into the network. And we've got a network of guys that just want to grow churches, and they're all across the nation. So churchboom.org is the place where people can go to find all of that. Plus, you can send me a note or any one of our leaders a note. There's a form there to fill out.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say one last thing before I hand it over to you, Pastor, but I just want to say thank you for all your years of, coaching and consulting. And I know for myself, longevity in something like this, I know there's ups and downs, and there can be discouragements whenever you see, churches or, clients or people not take in the things, right? The lid kind of idea. And so just thank you. I know for us, I know for myself, I can speak for myself, it's helped me a lot and really challenged me to grow and to think differently. And so thank you so much.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. No,
I join with that and say thank you for investing in us this last little over a year that we've been working together. We've seen the church grow. We've seen great things happen as we've implemented the things that you've taught us. And I'm looking forward to learning some more stuff and implementing it and seeing this thing continue to grow. So we appreciate you being on the podcast with us today. Max, great job in hosting. And we're so thankful that you came on the We've All Been There podcast this month, and we'll be coming back at you soon. So be checking out for that, and make sure and share this, like this, do all the stuff there so that more people can hear about the We've All Been There podcast. We'll see you next time.